अब आपको बराह रास्त लिए चलेंगे इस्लामाबाद, जहां पर वजीर खजाना मोहम्मद औरंगजेब तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे हैं।
मार्कअप की जो सेविंग है, जो डेट सर्विसिंग की सेविंग है, that was close to 600 to 700 billion rupees last year, and it's going to be, inshallah, I won't get into the number, but whatever we have budgeted for this year in terms of debt servicing, we will come well below that. The policy rate being at 10.5%, I think again it's a very welcome direction that we have moved. Next. State Bank reserves at a 4-year high, which is now about roughly 2.6 months of import cover. But inshallah, we want to stay with the direction that by the time we close this fiscal year, we should be at about 3 months of import cover, which is a great international marker, and that should help us in terms of further upgradings from the rating agencies. और जो गवर्नर भी यहाँ स्टेट बैंक के कहते रहते हैं कि these are high quality reserves because these are not built on debt. It's through open market operations, and therefore the quality of these reserves are very good as well. Remittances, as we all know, has been a great story, and that story actually continues in the first 5 months. And inshallah, if all continues to go in the right direction, we should be over $41 billion of remittance flows this year. And associated with that is also the Roshan digital account, because we are now dealing with 2 different client segments here. So our diaspora, who have done extremely well for themselves, they continue to send us close to $200 million per month in terms of the Roshan digital account, because that is more sort of investment-led discussion. Remittances, most of it is sort of consumption-led discussion. Stable exchange rate, the stock exchange. Just when I was leaving the office, I think it had crossed the 175,000 marker. Or isme, of course, it's always a discussion between Wall Street and Main Street. But the new investors, 120,000 new investors, and this rally is indeed and clearly being led also by liquidity, but there are fundamentals and corporate profitabilities which is sort of driving this. And because of that, jiska jo impact hai 26 mein, 16 new IPOs expected in 26. These are real companies who want to do capital raising to do either their BMR or further expansions. So that is the real effect in terms of the economic expectation going forward. Registered companies 276,000. Is pehle 5 mahine mein 18,000 companies have registered themselves as well. So it's a direct indication. और जो पहले भी कल जो एहसन इकबाल साहब ने जिक्र किया in terms of the GDP growth, I think we are beginning to move in the right direction, and certainly the sectors where we were lagging previously. Next, the structural reforms. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's about a month and a half back with all our friends from the media and along with my cabinet colleagues, we went into a lot of detail in terms of these structural reforms which are not in the design phase. They are well underway. और उसमें taxation है, people, process, technology, which is in turn being helping us with compliance and enforcement. अगर आज भी, if you've seen the ads in the papers in terms of not only faceless customs, but where customs is now moving on the digitalization side in terms of prior clearing, and also going directly into the ports as well. I mean, these are all things which are beginning to make a big difference as we go forward, and this is one area where the Prime Minister himself does weekly stock taking. On the energy side, the 2 cabinet colleagues are here in terms of governance, in terms of circular debt, in terms of tariffs. I think we have some way to go, but we are beginning to move in the right direction. Mohammad Ali साहब इधर बैठे हैं, मैं इनको हमेशा ये कहता था 1 score or 1 run on the scoreboard, and you have 2, and one a very large one, and a very big one, and a very meaningful one, which is the PIA privatization. So well done to you and to your team. And inshallah, through the Cabinet Committee on Privatization and Cabinet Committee on SEs, we have handed over 24 state-owned enterprises to the Privatization Commission. It includes the discos, includes insurance companies, and other assets which are there. And I know Advisor Privatization is sort of taking that forward. Digital Pakistan, I think, again, this is one where the Prime Minister himself has taken the lead in working with all the ministries in terms of accelerating our our journey. And I always keep on saying, when we talk about digital, is faster, cheaper, better. We have to look at it from the lens of our citizens and how it's going to help. And under Prime Minister's leadership, the way this journey has accelerated over the last 6 months gives us a lot of hope in terms of 26 and how it's going to make a real difference. Tariff, there's various schools of thought on it, but it's a bold tariff reform that was launched on July 1, and we firmly hope and believe that it's going to be a South Asia, East Asia moment for Pakistan in terms of improving competitiveness for our export industry. Right sizing of the federal government, we continue to move forward in terms of the 43 ministries, 400 plus attached departments, and then there are some very clear decisions which have been implemented in terms of merging of industries, in terms of closing down PWD, in terms of closing down Utility Services Corporation, and the process of winding down PASCO. Pensions for our government colleagues, civil government colleagues, we have now moved to defined contribution in terms of the new entrants. And debt management, I've just already talked about it. We are restructuring our debt management office in a big way so that they can continue to create the alpha, because I think that's very important. It's not only about the policy rate coming down and therefore the debt servicing coming down, the liability management trades that the office is now doing, etc., is helping us with the debt servicing costs, and that's very important because we can then continue to put that money into other sectors which actually require those funds. Next. So these are some of the external validations which came through during the course of this year, starting with the rating agencies. After a hiatus of about 3 years, the 3 rating agencies are aligned in terms of their sovereign ratings and, more importantly, their outlook for Pakistan. And all of them talk about the ongoing reforms under the current administration. If we also look at some of the IFIs, the World Bank saying staying the course on reforms is critical to maintaining growth, and ADB saying that economic reforms and advancing structural reforms by this administration is commendable. Next. These are also some of the independent surveys which have happened, and these are just the surveys over the last few months. So the PwC, because I think that leadership matters, if the top Pakistan CEOs are saying that optimism about economic growth has jumped to 83%. Similarly, Overseas Chamber, which talks about overall business confidence, 22%, up from 11% last time they did the survey, which is double in 6 months. Ipsos confidence and optimism about Pakistan's economic direction is at a 6-year high. So we will continue to look at these surveys as we move forward. Now let's talk about the reform agenda. So I've talked about some of the reforms and the policy reforms which are underway at this point in time. And we are very clear to stay the course in terms of those reforms and now really notch it up in a big way in terms of the institutional reforms, because that is the only way to ensure that we do not get into boom and bust cycles. We do not get into gold rush. We get to a sustainable growth through this reform agenda. So The next set of reforms, extensive consultations have taken place with key stakeholders and ministries over the last year or so, and therefore the focus is now on a few themes. Improving market governance to stimulate private capital in growth-oriented sectors, regulatory and tax policy predictability, which is really all about consistency. It is going to be a key driver of growth. Improvement in public financial investment management and prioritizing those areas which stimulate growth. Improved contract enforcement, because I think that's a critical enabler in terms of investor confidence, whether these are local investors or foreign investors. Next. Continuing on our journey with respect to automation and digitization, whether it's FBR or EPAD. So there's more fiscal space available for growth-oriented sectors, and we eliminate essentially discretion from procurement. Double up on the simplification of laws, the regulatory guillotine, and all the discussion which is already underway. We just need to accelerate that journey over the next 1 to 3 years. It will help ease of doing business and certainly lower compliance costs for the private sector, and further improve institutional linkages, which are and sort of really connecting all the agencies and departments which are undergoing reforms at this point in time. So there are really 3 core streams. The first one is growth-oriented fiscal and public investment governance. जैसे मैंने जिक्र किया, इसमें public procurement का बहुत important है. We are well on our way. I think the Prime Minister himself will mention some of the statistics in terms of how many agencies and how many departments are already now working through this procurement mechanism. But it's all ensuring that we remain competitive, public funds are saved, and ultimately it's all about